Yeah, hello guys. Welcome to the next edition of Industry E-Meet Design Quotient by DQ Labs. So today we have Nitasha K. She is a designer and a communication coach, right? So every Sunday between 4 and 6, we have these kind of interactions with a professional where the professional will share their experiences and also gives their inputs for us to learn, right? So, and we encourage all the students, the aspirants of design, architecture, fashion, and also their parents to come attend these e-meets because there's a wealth of information that is exchanged over here. And in the process, you also get to know, if you're a parent, you will get to know what it takes to be a real professional and in what way you have to support your child in this journey. And if you are a design aspirant, you will get to know the inside overview of the life of a professional, and there is so much that you can learn. Okay, so uh, today I would like to welcome Nitasha. Thank you for
Hello.
coming over here. All
Thank
right,
you.
so she had a great experience of bridging the gap between a design firm and a client, right? So she has taken multiple roles of managing this communication between a design firm and a client. And she's here to help us understand the intricacies of the communication. And most importantly, um, the hesitation that we all have whenever we are talking about selling something, right? So selling your design is the topic for today. And as a designer, as an architect, as a fashion designer, whatever you design, you have to sell them. Unless you communicate, unless you sell, the other person cannot understand, right? So there are certain things that we need to take over or consider while we are doing this activity. So let us hear to Nitasha. Okay, so Nitasha, the stage is all yours, and please go ahead.
Thank you. I share my screen.
Yeah, you can share your screen, please.
Selling skills for designers, the art of communication. Hi everyone, my name is Nitasha Kumar. I am a freelance design communication coach. I graduated from the first batch of the Faculty of Design, CEPT University. My career of over 18 years has involved design and management of over 50 Raymond retail stores all over India and some large corporate interior design projects, including a 200,000 square foot production plant for GlaxoSmithKline. I am the founder, vice president of Smedley Speakers Society, an affiliate of the global public speaking and leadership organization called Toastmasters International. I have designed and facilitated public speaking workshops for young teenagers in the public schools in New York, USA. I am also the principal designer and owner of a small but very significant, close to my heart, New York-based enterprise called WeePaint, a sensory art program for little children. I am very grateful to Umesh and Dion for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present my thoughts on this unique e-meet platform. And I hope you have a great takeaway from my presentation today. Going back a couple of decades, I thought when I graduated from CEPT University, I had said goodbye to CEPT, goodbye to juries, and goodbye to presentations forever. I had gone through my quota of design juries and critics, but surprisingly, that was not to be. As a designer, I have found myself standing up in front of a group of strangers several times a month, whether it was presenting project ideas to a client, giving updates to a board, explaining details to a contractor, presenting at a conference, networking, or even lecturing to a room of aspiring design students. And yes, that does make me nervous. I must say I am a pretty seasoned speaker. Like I said, I have made several design presentations to clients, delivered speeches as part of my Toastmasters journey, as well as lecturing to students both in India and USA. But I still get nervous every time I stand up to speak. And guess what? That's okay. The more practice I get, the more comfortable I get with being uncomfortable. So remember, the next time you stand up about to make a presentation, those butterflies are totally normal. Now, join me in this journey as I guide you on how we can curb those butterflies and ace that sale. Now, let's be very clear from the start. Design work does not sell itself, right? It may seem very obvious on its face, but believe me or not, it actually comes as a bit of a shock when I talk to some aspiring young designers. The belief usually is that after weeks or months of meticulous planning, design detail, the designer will arrive at a client meeting with his work covered with a satin drape, and he will dramatically unveil his work with a flourish, and he'll bask in the adulation and applause of his clients, who will instantly recognize what a genius design he's made. This has literally never happened. Not once, not even close. Now, the reason it has never happened is because design work does not sell itself. It has to be sold. It is sold by the designers who worked on it. Now, when I say sold, I don't really mean selling in the traditional sense of an economic transaction. Rather, as the Webster Dictionary puts it, selling is being accepted as satisfactory. So it is your work being accepted as satisfactory by whoever you are presenting it to, be it an external client or an internal stakeholder. And to do that, to sell design work requires presentation skills. Today, I'm going to share with you some helpful tips and tricks that I have accumulated over the years. Number one, focus on your audience. The most important aspect of your presentation isn't actually what you say. It's who you say it to. Now, in order for a presentation to be successful, it has to hit home with your audience. What some people may be interested in may be really boring for others. It's your job to figure out who your audience is and craft a presentation that will keep them engaged. Think about, what are your audience's goals? Are they students who are looking to understand a concept to pass an exam? Are they decision makers in a firm looking to choose a design for their new building? Think about what their goals are for the presentation. Like, for example, when you're trying to sell a design, it helps to appeal to the selfishness of the audience. For example, when we look at designing workspaces, corporate design interiors, talk about workplace productivity, open plan offices, interesting and large, well-equipped meeting rooms. Or when we were designing the Raymond retail stores, what is your client really interested in? His end goal is the point of sales. Is my display good enough? Is there going to be sale? And that's what you talk about, you focus on. Number two, remember, they do not need every detail. Now, do you know what really drives me mad when I attend presentations or lectures? There are presenters who write all of their content on slides and simply proceed to read the slides to the audience. Boring. Now, you're not trying to get your audience to remember every single bit of information on the project. They can obviously always talk to you later. They can look at documentation. They can look at design details at a later date. Your presentation is not about the minute stuff. It's about the big, flashy concept. It's about what makes people go, wow. So focus on getting people excited. Don't do this. Do something like this, where you have, for example, in a home interior, you have a layout plan, you have some pictures, you have swatches, you have a color shade card, you have swatches of flooring, curtains, you have images of furniture. So they really don't need every detail. Like I remember this example from a Raymond retail store when we were making a presentation. The client is not looking, for example, when we look at the display of a shelf, the client is not looking at the details of whether you have a 90 centimeter shelf, a 14-inch height shelf. What he's looking at is, what he needs to know is, how will my shirts be displayed? How many shirts will be displayed in the shelving? Will my customer, my end customer who walks into the store, will he be attracted to make a sale? Or this is another example of a corporate design where what we designed here is a breakout space. Now the client is not looking at this. He's not looking at the design details or the placement of the tables. What he needs to know is, what is the look and feel going to be for my employees? Will they feel relaxed enough? So once again, do not go into every detail. And of course, use images. Images represent the concept extremely well. Number 3, keep it simple. Of course, you are all designers, so you like things to look pretty. Putting together a presentation is probably your favorite part of the process. I know it really is mine. But the key is, keep it simple. Less really is more. Get used to cutting out material. Include in your presentation only what really matters. I know this is a difficult process, but think back to point number 1, your audience. What is the key takeaway for your audience? If your content does not answer that question, cut it out. Another point I'd like to emphasize here is, avoid the jargon. You may think talking the lingo makes you appear professional and knowledgeable, but guess what? It only makes you sound like a brat. Talk at the level of knowledge your audience is familiar with. It will help them understand the concepts better. Really, keep it simple. For example, I overheard this conversation somewhere. So there's a presentation going on, and the designer tells the client, hey Mary, I think what you need here is a mood board, and we simply must do a floor plan. Now Mary has never been on Pinterest and has no clue what you're talking about, what a mood board is. A lot of designers like to use those kind of jargon, and of course there are some clients who do watch HGTV, they follow Beautiful Homes, and they have picked up some of the lingo. But I really think that in order to show ourselves in hireable light, we need to communicate the way the client understands. So instead, how about saying something like, I think the best way to figure out what your room needs is for me to draw up a drawing of all your furniture and put it in a room layout. And when I get all those pieces together, I will put together a collage of pictures of all the special pieces that I have picked for you. And then you can see for yourself how the pieces integrate with each other, right? So do not patronize your clients. They are not dumb. They are just not designers. Like I said, visual images is a great way of presenting your ideas. Number 4, haven't we all heard this? Practice makes perfect. I cannot emphasize this enough. Rehearse, always rehearse. The biggest single difference a presenter can make to their performance is to rehearse. Believe me, if you are serious about success, then you need to get serious about rehearsing. And the best way to combat those butterflies, you remember those butterflies that I was talking about, is to be prepared. The better you know your subject, the less likely you're to have a brain freeze. And to practice your presentations, practice in front of a mirror, practice in front of your family. If you live alone, maybe practice in front of your pet dog. Remember that the people that you're presenting with are actually interested in what you're doing. If you mess up, if you stumble, if you skip a slide, no one is going to crucify you. As long as you can convey your enthusiasm, you are going to do just fine. Number 5, stage presence. Dress to express. Now we come to the hard part, the palms sweating, shaking, inarticulate, stuttering. You have to stand up in front of a crowded room and deliver your presentation. The first point is choose clothes you are comfortable in. If you are not a suit and tie kind of a person, the day of your presentation is not the day to get started. Of course, it is a much debated point, but I will always say dress to impress, dress to express. If you are in any doubt about what to wear, be smart. Smart hair, smart shoes, smart clothes. Don't fall into the trap of getting in front of an audience looking sloppy, because you'll only convey a very unprofessional aura. Be comfortable, but be smart. It's better to have people look at you and say, wow, she looks rather smart, instead of them saying, oh God, I wish she had at least made some effort. Number 6, be comfortable, be yourself. Make friends with yourself and be comfortable. Don't try to create a posher version of the real you. Someone who uses big words, fancy designer jargon, and tries to disguise a regional accent. You are unique. You are special. Nobody is quite like you. So stick to the real you. Be authentic. And believe me, your audience, your client will believe in you. Number 7, tell a story. Now, what actually works much better than all those design details is telling a story. Engage in a conversation with your client, with your audience. Talk about how you arrived at a particular idea, or how a building's history has shaped your design. Stories will really engage your audience and build a connection between you and them. Personalize the information. It helps people connect with your big idea. Here, I would like to share my own story, a personal experience that has had a significant impact on my design decisions through the years. While I'm dating myself, this goes back about 20 to 23 years, and this was the interior design of the 200 square foot production plant for GlaxoSmithKline, located on a 140-acre site. I was on my first site visit with some senior managers of the company. We were to make some critical design decisions. In the midst of our design discussions, I requested to be excused to use the ladies' room and stepped out looking for one. Much to my surprise and shock, and to the huge embarrassment of my client, this was a simple detail that had been overlooked in the client site design. It turned out that in the predominantly male set of workers, contractors, employees, and clients, the need to set up a ladies' room at the site office had been missed. Fast forward a few years, the need to pay attention to minute but important details has been imprinted on all my future projects. Number 8, speak slowly. This is not only the most prevalent mistake that we see young designers make, but it is also the easiest to address. When you are up there talking to someone, walking them through your work, take the cadence that feels correct to speak and literally talk at half the rate. Remember, again, I'm saying this, remember, your audience isn't remotely as familiar with the material as you are. So whatever feels normal to you is almost certainly too fast. Take a deep breath, slow down, walk your audience confidently, deliberately, and slowly through each page of your slide or presentation. Number 9, be enthusiastic. An important point that will make you an even better presenter is be enthusiastic. Nothing, absolutely nothing succeeds like enthusiasm. It's infectious. Once the audience can spot that you have a passion for your subject, they'll immediately begin to warm up to you and will ignore small imperfections or omissions in your presentation. So get up, get passionate, get excited, and get enthusiastic. Number 10, reflect. That's after the presentation. I know after you've had a presentation, you never want to think about it again, but it will really help if you take the time out after your presentation to evaluate what went right, what could you have improved on. If you have other friends or colleagues in the room, talk to them, discuss with them, take the time to reflect and see what went right and what did not. Were your slides easy to understand? Did you talk too fast? Did you make eye contact? You will be surprised at the responses you receive, because believe me, Good criticism can help you improve for the next time. As we come to the end of the presentation, let me tell you what I hope you've got an idea why communication skills are a must for aspiring designers. One more time, I would like to say, I am nothing special. I am by no means even close to being a perfect communicator, but I put a lot of effort and time into developing good communication skills and practicing them on a daily basis. And when I say communication, I don't mean just talking to people. I mean speaking on the phone, writing emails, sharing information with my team, presenting to my clients, watching body language, checking my attitude, noticing the vibes that I give out, everything that another person can verbally, visually, graphically, or perceptually receive from me. All types of communication matters and can make a huge impact on your career. But for today, I will share with you my top 3 reasons why communication skills are a must for aspiring designers. Good communication can set you apart from your peers. Something I learned very early on in a professional work environment is that if you act and speak like you are fresh out of college, your co-workers will see and treat you like a fresher. But if you act like a professional and communicate like one, I guarantee you they will treat you like one. Paying close attention to what you say, and more importantly, how you say it, makes a huge impact. Being respectful, considerate, mindful, and positive in all your meetings, phone calls, emails, conversations will go a long way in communicating what type of a person you are and what kind of a professional you hope to be. Number 2, good communication can definitely lead to bigger and better opportunities. Good communication skills enable you to gain trust from your coworkers and, of course, your bosses, which usually leads them to giving you better opportunities and responsibilities, such as putting you in front of clients for presenting at meetings. Now, I know architecture or design doesn't seem like your typical sales business, but at the end of the day, it really is. We are selling our talent and skills as designers and hoping that our clients buy it. So if your boss trusts you and you have the ability to win clients and sell work, you will become extremely valuable team member in your firm. Well, of course, it also works in the reverse. If you do not communicate well with your project team, which includes contractors, colleagues, consultants, your manager or your boss, good opportunities will pass you by like this. So remember, communication can hold back your career or can give it a huge push forward. Finally, communication is everything. It is your brand. It is your relationship with people. It is selling and winning clients. It is your character, your reputation. Good communication is about more than just being able to write emails well. It means the way you treat people. It means the way you're able to talk to your project team, even during stressful times. So build that brand, build that relationship with people. Go ahead and face the power of good communication. Thank you. I hope you have picked up some tips and you're on to a great design journey.
All right, Nitasha, that was very fantastic. And I really like the last point that you made. Communication does not mean that you write beautiful emails, but the way you talk to your coworker, or uh, you treat your other people, even that is part of the communication. That is really awesome, right? So there are a few questions. Even I have some questions. um, Let us first attend to a question what Vibha Arvind is asking. She's one of the participants. What do you do if you are completely sold about your idea but the client isn't really connecting?
Okay, that was a question that I was anticipating. Now, of course. So, hi Vibha. So what happens is you are sold on your design and you think that what you have designed is really what the client is. So the idea here is to make get your client on the same page as you. So what I would suggest, and we've had these clashes, so to say, these clashes quite often, is try and understand where the client is coming from. Of course, that leads us to, was your design brief accurate? Was your design brief complete? Was it detailed enough? Did you understand what your client wanted? For example, I would go to a hairdresser with a photograph and say, "Hey, I want my haircut to look like this." But really, do I have the hair for it? No. So the same. So try and understand where your client is coming from, what his expectations are, and why, what is it that has led to the clash.
Right. So what I would like to add, I mean, if I may, I would like to add a little bit on that. Okay. So when there is a clash of communication or ideas that are happening, what I suggest is please step back and try to understand from their perspective, and try to understand their real concern of of their of that objection. All right. So you'll be surprised to know that maybe you are both talking about the same thing, but the other person is looking your solution in a different angle. Maybe the solution that you have given is the actual solution for him, but he's not able to look into that perspective. So it is important that you step back instead of enforcing your ideas and your views onto him. Step back and understand from his perspective. Put yourself in his shoes and understand, okay, why he's talking like that, or why he's saying that word. You know?
Absolutely. 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 So again, it comes back to the design brief. Was this something that the client had set an expectation and you were not able to meet it? Try, like Umesh said, try to see where the client is coming from and what his objection is. Definitely do not get into an argument.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the worst that can happen.
Yes.
Uh, so, all right, see, we have to understand that everybody has a point of view, and we got to respect that. Okay, so when you're dealing a discussion from that angle, um, there are some gives and takes, right? So you'll have to give something, right? So if you take few steps forward, they also, the client will also take few steps forward to meet at a common point, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and in general, people have an opinion when they're talking about the presentations and etc. That um, okay, it's a one-time activity. In the industry, in the real industry, it is not a one-time activity. So it happens in phases, and in an entire process, in the entire journey, the client is always involved in the process of design. So what happens is, any differences of opinions or ideas and etc. are raised upfront in the earlier process of design. Okay, and those issues are sorted, and they go stage after stage. So it's not that you have put 6 months of effort, you're going to the client and the client says, no, no, this is not what I asked for. It happens in stages. So you have plenty of opportunities to understand your client, communicate, and basically settle down the differences.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is the reason why I think that at the start of a project, having a very good detailed design brief is extremely critical to any design project. And as you go along your design journey, the design brief also evolves. It changes phase. There have been shortage of materials. You want to look at other new materials that have come into the market. There have been, the pandemic has come up, so it has messed up your timelines. It has messed up your budgets. So revisit and have those lines of communication open with your client at all times.
Right, right. Cool. So there is a parent by name Bhaskar Reddy. So he's asking, my daughter has got through NID in the first round and has online interaction. She's not very comfortable with talking over a webcam. What suggestions do you have for her to get comfortable? Now, before we go into that, so they still have a little bit of time, okay, for this online interaction, and they can prepare themselves. All right, they can do a lot of practice and all. So what I mean to say is there is time for preparation. So, given such situation, what tips would you give for them to become comfortable?
Okay, I my own son has overcome his fear of talking on a webcam because it does feel strange talking into a camera when you do not. It is something that we are all learning, and so I would suggest that the first point is stand in front of a mirror and present yourself, a short speech, like maybe make an introduction about, hello, I am so and so. So you have another face that you're talking to, and that face is your own. So you are comfortable with that face. You make a short speech. It could be a prepared speech where you talk about yourself, who you are, what is your interest, what is your favorite color, what did you eat for lunch today, why, what is it about design that, and go over that. That is one way of practicing. The second would be, of course, to practice in front of a family member. The third, which I find very effective, is recording yourself, right? Making if you're not comfortable with a video recording in the first place, make an audio recording and voice record. We have easy access to phones, so we can voice record our conversations and figure out where you are stumbling. Do you feel that you're speaking too fast? So when you listen to yourself, you are able to evaluate what, for yourself, what is it that you need to work on further.
Right.
I hope.
Yes, that's a fantastic tip. And in fact, the first time, whenever he's on a stage and whenever he's speaking and listens to his own voice, it will be very, very awkward, right? Even I have faced that situation when I had to go to a stage and speak
Yes,
and hear to my voice. I was like, oh my God, what is this happening? I mean, I was worried, I was not at all comfortable, but it happens.
yes,
You need to get comfortable for these situations slowly, right? So as Nitasha has suggested, yes, you can stand
yes.
in front of a mirror and you can also record. And what you can also do is have these Zoom calls with your friends, with your relatives, right? Become comfortable having these kind of a sessions with them.
The key is practice,
Yes,
practice, practice. The
absolutely.
more you practice, the more you become comfortable.
Yes, absolutely. And then there are few misconceptions of what is a good communication and what is a good speech. For example, all right. Um, Now, in general, okay, great designers are not good communicators for some reason. Okay.
For the
So
same reason that Vibha mentioned, we are so sold,
right.
we are so in love with our design that we think that the whole world should just fall at our feet.
Yeah, yeah, probably, and also that we probably think a lot. Okay, a lot of things are happening in our mind, so we are evaluating everything, and we are taking steps to or taking time to communicate what we are speaking. Yeah, that's
That's right.
absolutely perfect. So if you see Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, and if you observe their interviews, all right, if a person asks a question, they take considerable amount of pause to think and answer, right? So sometimes they go silent for about 20 seconds, and everybody will be thinking, okay, what's happening? Is he going to answer or not?
That's
Right?
right. That's
That's
right.
number one. And I would want you to listen to Philip Stark TED Talk. Now, Philip Stark is a famous designer. All right. Now he does fantastic designs. All right. But you look into his TED Talk and see, like, even though there are so many breaks in his conversation, he's able to communicate, right? So what the main purpose of communication is to pass on a message from your brain to other people's brain. All right. Just speaking continuously like a recorded parrot or like a recorded cassette is not about communication. The communication is about communicating the idea that is in your brain has to be planted into the opposite person's brain, right? So do not worry if you're stuttering or it's the first time you're talking about or you're not comfortable with your own voice. Leave all that aside. What is the main purpose of your communication? Because you want to communicate certain idea. Focus on that, and everything else will fall in place, right? Okay, so I'm just going through a few of the questions here. Um, Mangesh is saying, "Hi Natasha, keep it simple." That's well said. Would you advise use of design tools? So,
Uh,
Mangesh, use of design tools means, would you like to elaborate on that?
I I would say that anything that helps communicate your design, your intent effectively to your client
Hmm.
and helps you get the message across is something you should use. And of course, you have to be comfortable using that design tool. Why not? I mean, I don't see a reason why you should not use design tools because I remember when we went in to make presentations, this was, of course, a couple of decades ago when we did not have such sophisticated walkthroughs, but if we wanted to show what the texture of a carpet was, I would actually carry large samples of the carpet, large samples of the fabric swatches to show to your client what exactly I'm trying to convey. What do the two colors look like? To my eye, blue and green matches perfectly well and is a beautiful color combination for your workspace. But my client has no idea. He has no idea how the two colors would look together. He has no idea what kind of a blue you're talking about. So if you can, whatever tools are needed to get your point across to your client, to communicate your idea, please feel free to use those.
Yeah. So Mangesh has responded saying that yes, the softwares. Can we use the softwares during these presentations? Absolutely. Why not? As long as you're able to communicate efficiently, you can definitely use them. Veda Arvind is asking, what if your audience is extremely uninterested and unwilling to participate in an interactive presentation? Then how would you stay motivated and make sure that the audience is also equally motivated?
Um, well, I think in this case, I hope we are talking about a client and a designer,
Hmm.
and really there is no reason for the client to not be interested. Okay, so then going back, kind of if you feel that people are fidgeting around and not paying attention to your presentation, step back and think about the tools that the few tips that I talked about. Are you talking about, are you using too much designer jargon? Is it something they do not understand? Is your drawing full of too many details which has no interest or no use to the client? Eh, uh, are you are you overshooting time? Have you spoken, were you allocated say a 30-minute slot, but you have already spoken for about 45 minutes and you have not come to the key message or the key details of your presentation? I think at that point of time, you have to get a sense of why or how your audience is getting demotivated. Step back and try to modify your presentation to keep them engaged.
Right. So those are the checks that we can definitely look into. Um, I would like to cite one incident here. I was called for a talk in Kota about the careers in architecture, fashion, and design. And we all know what quota students are for, right? So they all were interested in engineering. So they were about 600, 700 students. Okay. And I was like trying to, I just started my presentation and I was talking about architecture, fashion, design. And I can notice that nobody were interested. Absolutely nobody were interested. So then I realized that, okay, this is not the right audience. I mean, they're not interested to listen to what the careers are. So what I did is I have showcased a couple of clips of futuristic clips of how the future would look like and etc. And I try to engage the audience by asking certain questions about the future. What do they feel like? Where do they see themselves and etc. etc. So there could be certain times where you have an agenda of speaking or communicating, but the audience are completely disconnected and you have to fill in the gap. So it is better you understand what your audience are interested in and probably try to connect to them in a way that they enjoy the conversation better. Sometimes we
True.
may have to keep our agenda aside and focus on you know making the audience happy.
True.
uh,
Like that was my tip number one. Know your audience.
yes.
When you are called in to give a presentation, typically when you're having when you're having a conversation in a conference, you do not know your audience. But when you've been called in to make a presentation, you have an advantage of knowing who your audience is, right? So you can cater your communication, your presentation to the need of your audience. Again, like Umesh says, it is important to know your audience. Who is it that you're addressing? Who is it that you're talking to? And what is it that would really motivate them, excite them, and make them enthusiastic about what you are talking about?
Okay, cool. um, so Vibha Arvind is also asking another question. How do you make sure that you don't sound over rehearsed at a presentation?
Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more things will flow naturally to you. And again, when you over rehearsing or over practice, it actually helps your client understand or appreciate that you have made an effort to for the presentation. You have made an effort to understand what is it that the client is looking for, because a couple of things that happen when you rehearse, you go over your design details, you're able to eliminate stuff that you think is not necessary, you're able to stay on time within a stipulated time, you are able to put together pictures or images or details that you're able to correlate what your brief was. You're so actually when you rehearse, you are able to eliminate all the distractions and make a very focused presentation.
Right. So some students have this gift of memorizing everything. Okay, whereas some students do not have. Okay, some individuals do not have, and I belong to that category where I cannot memorize any stuff.
Okay.
So what I follow, or the tip I follow, is that I basically have keywords,
Yes.
all right, and I position the keywords in a sequence of my presentation, right? So um, when I look into the keyword, I know what I need to talk about, and that way I would navigate my presentation without missing out any points and etc. All right, so you can follow that method. If you have the gift of memorizing everything, then you have to practice to basically tone it down to make it look more natural and not look over what do you call over
Rehearsed.
rehearsed. Yeah, so that tip you can follow. And I
That's a very important point, Umesh, that have your keywords so that it's another thing that it helps in. Of course, it makes you sound more natural,
yeah,
but another thing that it helps you in is when you have your bullet points, when you have your flashcards, you make sure that you do not miss out on anything that is important to be conveyed to your client.
correct, very true. Um, so we generally come across certain students and parents, and the parents say that, okay, my child is very reserved, he is an introvert, he doesn't speak much, right? But he does great work, but he doesn't express it. Okay, so how do you what do you suggest for those kind of students, those who are really good in their work, but they do not, for some reason they hesitate expressing the work?
Right. I think that's a very good question, and of course, I have had colleagues and peers at high school, college who have been like that, where they are brilliant designers, but they are unable to express themselves. Like so, in that case, I would again there is no substitute for practice, and practice in a friendly, warm environment. So what I would suggest is maybe have the child present to the parent, where you know that the parent is non-judgmental and the parent is not going to criticize uh, or overemphasize your need to speak. The second would be if you're a student. Well, I think unfortunately as a designer, you have to learn to sell your design. Once you're out there in the profession, you
Right,
have to learn to speak and sell your design. That is key because, again, like cannot emphasize enough, design work does not sell itself to a jury, to an internal a teacher at your design institute. If you're uncomfortable speaking in front of an audience, and I have seen that at CEPT, where our faculty was very receptive and very considerate towards students who A were either not comfortable speaking in front of an audience, or B they were not comfortable speaking in English,
right,
right? So we have had the opportunity of a smaller jury. So that is something again that you have to work on. Design field is a service industry. Whether we like it or not, we are in the service industry. We are giving the client what they have asked us for, right? So it is something which does require you to learn to communicate, learn to sell, learn to market yourself. But at the school and college level, a smaller group presentation, smaller group interactions with familiar faces of maybe just one teacher, if it will be possible.
right. And in a design school, we get a plenty of opportunities to do this kind of a presentations, you know.
Yes,
So every subject, every semester, every week, there is an opportunity for you to go
absolutely.
and talk to small group of people.
Yes,
No, so even if you have that kind of a fear or inability to speak up, but if you have that willingness to go and learn how to achieve that that skill, there are plenty of opportunities to do that. And
Yes,
what I also recommend to my students is to become part of this Toastmasters club, which you are
absolutely.
part of, right?
Yes, yes.
So,
I
and
strongly advocate the
yes,
Toastmasters clubs,
yes,
and in fact, for younger children,
yes.
there are clubs called the Gavel clubs,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
in a very uninhibited environment, the
Hmm.
children are encouraged to speak
Right.
and given
Right.
positive feedback on how to improve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we have noticed is they have improved very, very well.
Yes, yes,
So there's a
yes.
great improvement on that aspect. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. So Mr. or Mrs. SS is asking, can we ask questions to them if it makes the conversation more interesting? So, so currently this session is a curated session. Okay, it's not open for all to come and discuss here. But going forward, we are allowing few select students of DQ Labs to be part of this meeting where they can also make connects with the speakers. All right, so there is a little process for that. We'll be rolling out that process this week. And Nitasha, I would like to tell that next week we are having Raghavendra Rathore, the
Oh,
fashion designer, coming
right.
over this e-meet.
Interesting.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. So previously we had Vaishali S. Vaishali S is a brand, and she's a designer herself. Okay, so she was there, and next week we are having Raghavendra Rathore. In fact, uh, he's designing for Amitabh Bachchan, Virat Kohli, and he has his own brand of uh,
It's a big
his own
name.
clothing brand and etc. So um, we are planning to roll out this opportunity for exclusive DQ Lab students who are showing a lot of interest, and they are proactive in terms of improving themselves. Okay, so next week they'll be hosting Raghavendra Rathod, and they'll be
Wonderful.
coordinating everything. So we want to give this opportunity for them as well, so that they can build the connects. All right. So SS, if you are hearing this, so next week we'll have that opportunity. Okay, great. So next question, uh, Kriti Mukherjee is asking, how can we learn what clients are actually looking for?
That is really a topic for another presentation, which is formulating a very good, tight design brief. No, you have to ask the right questions. You
Hmm.
have to know the kind of questions you um, to ask to get the right answers, because the client, most of the clients do think that they have all the answers in their mind, but you have to get it out of them, and for that a very good design brief is very critical. Mish.
Yeah, asking the right questions is very, very important. So in fact, I mean, it applies very well when you're servicing certain clients, companies, So I'd like to quote one example here. Um, so I had worked with Hyundai Kia Motors US as a digital sculptor, and I had a team of designers working back in India, and we were working on very short deadline project. Okay, so we were supposed to deliver the uh, interior of a car, okay, math model of interior of a car in like about 15 days. So there are like about 10 people working from India, and I have gone there to interface with the client. So one was the most important thing is the client. Yes, he will give all the data and he would give his intent. Okay, but we have to ask a lot of questions to understand what they actually want, and
Right.
the clients kind of expect that to happen. They are not there to just give all information one after the other. They want the people to ask questions, or the coordinator or the liaison to ask the questions. So this is one of the important things, because we could successfully give that project within the time, and the chief designer has made this a point that, okay, Umesh has asked all the right questions, so we
Yes.
could we could give what we wanted. So as you said, the right questions is very, very important. And in fact, make it a habit of asking questions. Okay. Now, so far you're in a school, like you're in a 11th, 12th schools, where if you're asked a question, the teacher will look at angrily, right? Why are you like, why are you
Yes.
asking the questions to me? Why me? But in the design school, in the design profession, they will welcome that. All right. So it can we in fact encourage our students to ask a lot of questions and make it a habit. Okay. And what we generally notice is a lot of questions pop out at the end of the meeting. When we're trying to close a session, then a lot of hands will raise up, saying, okay, I have a question to ask, and etc. So maybe because they're hesitant to ask all these questions, and they're piling up and saying, okay, mustering the courage to raise their hand and ask. But make it a habit to ask questions. So we believe that no question is a silly question, as long as it is a sensible question, right? So
And to add to that, no, like you said, no question is a silly question as long as it gives you the answer that you are looking for.
yes, yes, absolutely.
So you have to try to find a way to get inside the client's head to
Yes,
what is he thinking, like for example a home design, the lady of the house will say, I want something which is very comfortable and
hmm,
spacious.
hmm,
Now she has told you what she wants, but
hmm,
your point is that, okay, so your questions would be, how many people in the house, how often do you cook? So that will give you an idea on what kind of space is she envisioning in her mind. So again,
absolutely.
like I said, no question is silly. The more questions you ask, the more answers you get, and the better prepared you are with your designs to
Correct.
satisfy your client at the end of the day.
Correct, correct. Very cool. So a small observation that we can see during the shopping. Okay, so when you go to shopping and when you say, okay, I want a particular sari. Okay, so what does the shopkeeper do? He would give you options, and options for elimination. Option is not for selection. Option is for elimination. Okay, ये पसंद आया, नहीं आया. Okay, next set of collection. So what he's doing is he is taking the odds. He's removing the odds and
Yes,
going to uh, try to understand what you like. Okay, so when you say
yes,
I like a green sari, he will give you 20 different green saris, not just one green sari, because of shades of greens that you would love, right?
yes.
So uh, that is one of the common observations that we can notice, uh, to ask or give options for the client to select, so that we understand what they need. Okay,
Yes,
cool.
yes.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. Sangeeta Rajani is asking, as a freelance designer, how do you choose your clients, communicate your ideas, and catch their attention? Wow, how do you choose your clients? I hope we have the liberty of doing that.
I wish, I wish we are all in the market for for sales, but the client really picks you. I don't think you get
Yeah,
to pick. Most often, you do not get to pick your client.
right. Absolutely. Um, so, so I have been in touch with a lot of designers, architects, and etc. So they keep sharing their the way they got their clients. Okay. So recently, one of the architect Chandrakant, in fact, we have invited him for the e-meet. Okay. So he was sharing how he got one of the clients. Okay. And it is quite interesting to see that he got this request by email. The client and architect Chandrakant had never got any connection before. All right. So he received an email from the client saying that, architect Chandrakant, I really love your work. Okay, I have seen your work. I've seen the pictures. I have visited the site. I really love your work. can you please work on my project? Wow, how lucky is that?
That's right.
Right?
So I
So,
would like to add to that most, of course, in today's day and age where everything is technology,
mm,
always have an updated website.
yes,
Attend as many conferences, design
yes,
conferences, network events, product launches as you can. Keep your
mm,
social media up and active. You'll be surprised at the number of clients who browse through your social media and website to see if you are the kind of designer that they are looking
yes,
for. Because if you are hesitant looking for clients, even the client is hesitant in coming to you because he has never worked with you before.
correct,
He does not want it to fall into the trap of, what if I make a mistake by choosing the wrong designer? So
correct,
showcase and of course be truthful. Do not do not showcase another person's work. Do not lie about your work. Admit your mistakes, but or keep your social media, your websites active, and keep yourself active in the design space.
right, cool. So Gunj is asking, what is the level of English language proficiency required for design communication? Great designers from number of countries does have professional English level proficiency.
Uh, Personally, I feel that you English level yes, we are predominantly English speaking, but if you can exude the same level of confidence in your own local language, and of course the key is that your client also understand. For example, if you are working in Karnataka, in Bangalore, and you are a native Kannada speaker and you're more comfortable speaking in Kannada and making a presentation in Kannada and your client understands,
Yes,
then I do not think that it is important. In fact, you may ruin your chances if you try to speak in English uh, instead of your own proficient language. So the key is to have confidence and well, if in another case, if you do have an international client
mm,
where the English is mandatory, there are many people you can hire to speak for you. There are other co-workers who you could take along and help make that presentation. Maybe your design work can speak for itself,
right,
showcase more images, make it more visual instead of more verbal.
right, cool. Yes. So language is not a barrier for
I
communication.
don't think it should be.
Yes. Okay. So Rajita Pramod is asking, how can we overcome the stage fear? The problem I face is that I'm confident on outside, but the time I get into the stage, everything just goes off my mind.
Again, key is rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. The more you practice, the more you're familiar with your speech, with your presentation, the more the easier the thoughts will flow from your mind. Okay, stage fear is a very real fear. But the other reality of it is that it can be overcome. To again coming back to Toastmasters Internationals or debate clubs, public speaking forums are great opportunities to overcome that stage fear.
Mm,
Now, having said that, if for any reason you are put in a spot, you're suddenly asked to speak,
mm,
and or you're at a conference and you're given a very small amount of time to prepare that we will have Vidya present her work, a short speech. So I would think as an impromptu speech, look for one familiar face in the audience and make eye contact with that audience and try to blank out the rest of the people and it will help you overcome some amount of stage fear and help make a confident presentation.
Yeah, that's cool. So make one of the audiences as your a known audience and a friend, and you can talk to them. Okay. See, secondly, you have to understand that if you're on a stage, you have been put on a stage, and there is an audience who is willing to listen to you. They are really willing to listen to you. They're not there to judge. They are
Right.
there to listen to what you're trying to say. Okay, so the stage fear that you're thinking of is a mentally concocted feeling that you're trying to generate, um, so you have to think, or you have to assume that you have something of value to communicate and the audience are there to receive it. Okay, so let us say you are in among friends and you're trying to tell about an incident that you have seen or something of value. Okay, would you feel stage fear to talk to them? Absolutely not, right? So you got to understand that you have something of value and you're trying to communicate, and people in general are um, very considerate to the speakers who are exhibiting little nervousness. Okay, so
That's
that
right.
little nervousness is good. It's good for you. Okay, that's number one. And secondly, yes, it quite happens that you will go blank. Your mind goes blank. Okay, so but when you have this kind of a keywords written down, okay, so when you look at the keyword, immediately your mind will start working. Okay, so uh, one, consider audience as your friends, or as Nitasha is saying, pick one of the person in the audience as your friend, known person, and you can communicate to him. And second is have this kind of keywords written down. It could be on a piece of paper. You can go along with a piece of paper, no problem. And you can use that to navigate. Whenever you feel that you are blank, you can just have a glance at the keywords and everything will come back to normal.
May I add another point here?
Yeah.
One of the tips that I mentioned was personalize the information, tell a
Mm.
story. If
Story,
you are
yes.
able to share a personal experience, you do not need preparation for that. It will flow automatically, which will help you gain confidence to speak
Yes.
because it is something you have experienced and so you know the best about that.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So there are a couple of questions regarding the interview. Okay. So
Okay.
the first question is from Ananya Sarangi. How do you prevent stress or tension from stifling you personally during an interview? Also, do clients want your personality to shine through, or is it strictly professional? So there are
Oh,
two parts of the question. Okay, the first question is how do you prevent stress or tension from stifling you personally during an interview?
okay. Um, So again, stress is because you are under the fear of being judged. You feel you do not know enough. So like Umesh mentioned earlier, be confident. No, think that they are not there to crucify you. Your
Correct.
interviewer is there to make you feel comfortable. The interviewer wants to know more about you as a person,
Correct.
right? So take comfort in that. Second, be on time. In fact, if you can reach your place of presentation or interview before time,
Mm.
familiarize yourself with the surroundings. Don't, because it is an unfamiliar environment. Be there about 15 minutes in advance. Walk around, talk to the other attendees, talk to the other interviewers. You may see a familiar face. That will give you a lot of comfort. Third, again, understand that they are not there to judge you, to put you down. They also want you to succeed.
Yes.
So right, so keep repeating that to yourself, and it will, I guarantee you, it will give you the confidence that they want you to succeed as much as you want yourself to succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good point you have made. You know. Um,
What was
and
the second part of the question?
Also, do clients want your personality to shine through, or is it strictly professional?
Oh, absolutely. They want your personality to shine through. They want to massage their own egos and confirm to themselves that they have made the right choice by picking you as their designer or you as a student for their college. They want that they want to satisfy themselves also that they have done the right thing by picking you as a designer. So absolutely they want, like I said, they want you to succeed as much as you want to succeed.
Right, right. Cool. So the next question is from Arya Kulkarni. I'm sorry. The next question is from Kashish Mandia. Any advice on NIDA online interaction tomorrow? So it seems there is I mean, the interviews have been scheduled from tomorrow, and these are held over Zoom call from their
Okay.
home. Okay. And they are done phase wise. So there are some students who got interview dates like 3rd July, 4th July as well. So the process of interview is starting from tomorrow. I think Kashish Mandya is having his interaction, online interaction tomorrow. So any advices for him? So just to
I
put
think
in
you would be
context,
better. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Let me just put in context. So what what see that they have selected the NID has two stages of selection. The first stage of selection was through a written test. So
Okay.
all these students, they have selected some of the students, and these students will be going for the second stage of preparation or the interview or selection. So what they were asked to do is to basically create a poster or a A3 size work, either based on one of the failures or a memorable journey. And all the participants or all the shortlisted candidates have done that work and uploaded. Along with it, they were asked to upload sample works. Okay, so
Okay.
they have uploaded their works as well. Now, in the from tomorrow, they'll be having this online interaction. So what is expected is maybe there'll be three or two panel members who would be interviewing the candidate, and they would like to go through the work the student has done and the assignment the student has done, and probably they would like to ask certain questions to understand the student even more better. Okay, so that is a context. So in such a context, when the students are attending for these sessions online, I'm sure this is their first experience, and this is a first experience for NID also to organize something like this
I'm sure.
over Zoom. All right. So a lot of students are feeling nervous, and they do not know what to expect, what to do, and etc. So any tips, like for example, a student has asked, okay, I feel really uncomfortable to be in front of a camera and give the interview, right? So any tips or any suggestions for the online interactions that would happen starting tomorrow?
Uh, Again, I keep going back to my presentation. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. The second would be, of course, so when you rehearse, I'm assuming I have no personal previous experience with an interaction at NID, so I can only I can only guess what they would ask since you said that they would ask you to present your work. So again, learn to talk about your work, keep it short, simple, focus on the main points. They really want your personality, your design thinking to shine through. So it's not so much about the exact details of the design that you've made or the drawings that you've made. It's probably about the thought process. So have clarity on your own thoughts. If needed, make points so that you don't make bullet notes, make flashcards, so you do not miss out on the key message that you want to give your interviewer.
Right. So in this regards, at DQ Labs, we have been organizing few interaction sessions. Okay, so the sessions have started from Friday onwards, and a lot of students are utilizing that facility. Okay, if there are any students attending this session who have not participated in that, please send a message to 959 so that we can also give you that opportunity to experience. That is number one. And what we figured is most of the participants, okay, they have attended the Zoom session, but they were not prepared in the sense their internet was not clear or not good, broadband connection was not good. So what was happening is they were trying to speak, but we were not able to hear. So that could be a nightmare or a biggest disaster that could happen. So
Yeah.
please always ensure that you have wherever you're giving this interview from, ensure you have power backup, you have redundant internet connection, and there is always a couple of people to help you if something goes wrong. They can help you set up the computer or maybe relaunch, or what happens is only when the important things happen. Okay, for example, Steve Jobs doing some presentation on screen, the screen will fail. It happens with all the times. It happens all
Murphy's
the time.
law.
you know so it's a very common thing. Like Elon Musk was showcasing the unbreakable glass of the Cybertruck, and it broke, right? So please be ready for this, all these kind of exigencies. Okay.
Always have a backup. Yeah,
Yeah.
always have.
Yeah. So
And
all the,
God forbid if anything does go drastically wrong,
right.
apologize and ask for another slot.
Yeah.
They are not going to kill you for making a mistake.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So from technical point of view, be comfortable, or get these things ready. Okay. And have some mock sessions with your friends or your family. Okay.
Yes.
uh, get onto Zoom and try to share your screen with them, and try to mute, unmute, and experiment this kind of a stuff so that you're prepared. Okay, that's number one. And secondly, because they're going to ask to share your screen, please ensure that your screen or the background that you have has something decent. Okay, of some of your work or something like that. Okay, that's second. Okay, and third, there are some basic fundamental questions that you should be ready with.
Yes.
Okay, like for example, tell me something about yourself, something about your city, about your family. Why do you want to become a designer? Why NID? These kind of questions, right? So please be ready with certain answers. And few other crucial inputs are, I mean, whatever you want to say, you need to have in-depth knowledge in that. Okay, so there were instances where, um, okay, so when I'm giving these examples belong to like 5 or 6 year back, because that time NID used to have interview process for the undergraduate students. All right, so in fact, uh, students coming out of those interview, after the interview, they were like saying that it was more like a ragging for them,
Oh,
because because they were asked to dance, they were asked to climb on the chairs, they were asked to make sounds like of donkeys and etc. All right, now there is a reason for all of this. Okay, for example, if you take the example of making noises of a donkey. Okay, so that student was interested in doing animation design, and they would like to understand how sensible or how sensitive they are to the sounds of animals. Okay, but as
okay.
a external student, right out of 12th standard, going for these interviews, they'll feel that okay, this guy doesn't like me, so they're ragging me. But it's not ragging. They're trying to understand your abilities. How observant are you? Okay, because all these skills are relevant when you're doing your design course. Okay, in fact, when I met one of the students who was studying in NID, our ex DQ student. So I met her, and I asked, okay, where did you go? So she said, okay, we went all day out. You know what? To do what? I asked, okay, to do what? She said, okay, we were observing and studying donkeys because they have to make a animation exercise on donkeys. Okay, so they have to observe how donkeys walk, how donkeys behave, how they sleep, how they eat, how they communicate. They have to observe all of that. Okay, so what I was trying to tell is that kind of interview might not happen now, but even if they ask you, if you're not comfortable, you can laugh at it and say that, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. Okay, so you don't have to sit there and cry and do all that, right? So you can express your discomfort with them and they can understand that.
And
Number
it will
two,
be appreciated.
they would, yes, it will be appreciated. Okay.
May I add to this?
Yes, please. Yes.
Another thing that I found that really works well, and I have done it during my design thesis presentation, is doing a role play where you put
Yes.
yourself in the shoes of an interviewer and question maybe a friend or a parent. So you have actually prepared a set of questions that you anticipate they will ask you,
Yes.
and it helps you to kind of formulate and work your answers around the question. Again, getting into your client, in this case your client is your interviewer, so getting into his or her mind to understand what they want from you. Role play is a great way of stifling those nervous butterflies.
Right. Okay. And other input I would like to give for all the participants or those who are giving the NID online interaction tomorrow onwards is please know your stuff thoroughly. Okay, let us say uh, you like to become product designer. Okay, you got to know who are the famous product designers, what are their works, okay, and whom do you follow and why do you follow, right? So because they are gonna ask more and more such questions and they would like to understand if you really are passionate about it, okay, or not. So do research on your own subjects, on your own stuff, so that you are well prepared.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So let's go to the next question. So Arya Kulkarni is asking, how do we understand the client's mindset?
I think we addressed this a little earlier, where yeah,
Yeah.
where we talked
Yeah.
about
Yes.
preparing a good design brief. Asking the right questions helps you to understand the client's mindset, and asking a lot of questions.
Right. Right. Cool. Okay. So, guys, if you have any questions, please do post on the live chat. All right. So I think I have addressed most of the questions that have been asked. Okay, so there's one question. Srija Pagadala is asking, what happens during college juries?
College was many years ago. It's a presentation. It's a mini presentation to where only the only difference is your client is your juror or your teacher or your faculty member or an invited guest. And in most cases, the difference between a college jury and a design presentation, in my perception, which is almost 30 years ago, is that your design juror is typically a seasoned designer, a professional from the field. So you can get away with a lot of design jargon because you believe he or she understands, and I hope he does. But it's the same thing. You have to walk your juror through the design process, and you have to sell your design. And the only difference is that it is a In most cases, it is a make-believe project, it's a make-believe site, whereas when in the real world, it's a real project and a real site, so you cannot mess up. Am I right, Umesh?
Yes.
That would probably be the only difference between a design jury and a design presentation.
Right. Right. So, in fact, there are different kinds of juries, all right? So, the friendly juries and those who come and they pick on every small thing that you say, and those who really are angry with you for no reason, are they basically ask you something that you have not done, and they specify to show that work only. So, it's a lot of fun thing, and you also learn a lot how to basically
Yeah.
tackle these kind of personalities and situations, right?
Yes, yes,
So,
because that is the real world. Not everybody is going to like what you say or do.
yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. And trust me, while you're going through that jury process, you will feel, oh my God, why I'm living at that particular point of time. But when
Yeah.
you once you come out of that, you'll really enjoy. Okay, every moment of that, you'll is a cherishable event and a memory, and it would have definitely helped to improve yourself. All right, so so take those as a positive experiences.
Yeah,
Oh,
almost 30 years later, you will be sitting like
yes,
me in front of a computer and laughing about those days
absolutely.
when you had your design jury. But yes, at that point of time, it is scary because it is an unknown world that you are stepping
Yes,
into.
yes,
But be confident, remember that they are there, they want you to be happy and successful, they are there for you to learn, they are there for you, they are there to teach you something which you don't
right.
already know. So be open to criticism, be open to feedback, be open to hand holding, and you will definitely ace the journey.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, so Sangeeta Rajani is asking any tips on what a portfolio should communicate. So, Sangeeta, I'm considering that this is a general portfolio kind of a question, not the NID portfolio, because they have already asked and closed their entries of submitting their portfolio. So, yes, Nitasha, would you like to give some comments on what the portfolio should communicate? So
So
it could be a work portfolio, or it could be a portfolio for getting into a college, or an admission related portfolio.
I may not be able to comment too much on the requirements of a design college because, like
Hmm.
Umesh mentioned, I think each college would have very specifics on what they are looking for. But as a design portfolio, I would suggest that definitely do post your work and showcase the variety of work that uh, you have handled
True.
in your career. For example, if you're an interior designer and you have worked on hospitality spaces, on retail spaces, corporate design spaces, whatever the variety of work that you have, you must showcase that. If you are, of course, an advanced designer with about hundreds of projects, pick the few which really speak about you because design also evolves with over a period of 30 years. So pick the projects that best showcase your identity, your brand. Maybe you can also showcase a variety in terms of space. If you've done a 1500 square foot project versus having done a 150 square foot project, just to give it, again, you're marketing yourself, so you
Yes.
are trying to get clientele, you're trying to tell your client that I am capable of designing a restaurant, I'm capable of designing, again, because I'm an interior designer, I will talk from the spatial experience, that you can design a retail space, you are capable of designing a corporate office, you have handled a small 2000 square foot store, you have also handled a 200 square foot corporate office for a large MNC. So your portfolio should ideally encompass the range of the projects that you have handled.
True, true, true. And what I would like to suggest is Sangeeta. So she's looking for a freelance. She's a freelance designer and she's looking for projects. So what advice I would like to give is when you showcase your portfolio, your client should say, "Wow, every page that you are showcasing, you should be like awestruck. Wow, fantastic! How did you do that? You really did that? If you can get that kind of an expressions from them, then sure that you got the client. Okay.
Yes.
And secondly, so when you go that route, okay, it's not that every person that you are coming along may like your work. Okay. So what you have to do is you need to have a variety of styles and themes. Okay. Even if they are conceptual. Okay. So mix that up with the actual executed projects, so they know that okay, you have the ability, number one, to conceptualize something really out of the world, and secondly, you have the ability to execute it and give it on time. Okay. I would like to take the example of Sanchit Arora, architect Sanchit Arora, last Sunday e-meets speaker. Now his work, the Pink Zebra restaurant, you know. So once you look at that, you cannot forget, So that's the kind of wow effect his work has been creating. All right.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the tip. Yeah. Yes, Nitasha.
I've seen some budding designers also showcase the before and after pictures, because
Correct.
obviously you do not have a very large portfolio, you are just starting out in the design field, so it may be a good idea to build on that you have some pictures, again try and make it as visual as possible. So showcase, maybe you have a before picture that this is what the site looked like and this is what I was able to make it into. Highlight any of your strengths, your achievements. What was the, for example, if the, what was the budget of the project, did you stay within budget? What was the timeline of the project? Did you stay within the timeline of the project? Were you able to hand over the, those are all selling points, those are all uh, things that the client is looking for. They don't want that you promise the client that you would hand it over by January 2020, and we are sitting in August 2020 and there is no sign of the project getting completed. So
Right.
anything that showcases your strengths, whether it is your variety of work, your design style, your awards, your ability to stay within budget, stay within timeline, your associates, the experience of your consultants, showcase that in your portfolio.
Right. Right. Cool. Yes. Okay. So I think we have addressed most of the questions the audience have asked. All right. So I just would like to add a few points, for example, the journey from an individual designer uh, to a to a person where he has to manage a company. All right. So what is very, very crucial all along is the communication. Okay. So as a freelance designer, yes, you have the time to design on your own and also do multiple stuff. But as you graduate to higher levels, okay, where you have, let us say, 100, 200 designers working under you, and you are working on projects worth maybe 500, 600 crores, you would not have the time to design. But the crucial thing is to communicate between the teams, with the clients, with the vendors, with the stakeholders. The communication is a very, very crucial and important aspect. So if you have not been giving importance to it, it is very important skill a designer should have. Right? Okay. So Meraki is asking, how do you suggest we get our design or art blocks, or even how do we motivate ourselves during this block?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understood the question
So,
correctly.
so this is a little off the topic. So she's asking about while designing, in the process of design, there are many a times where we are stuck. We are stuck out of ideas. Okay, that's like a mental block or maybe an art block, as she's saying, or a design block, right? So she's asking, okay, how do we come out of that block, and how do we motivate ourselves to come out of that block?
Um, it's a hypothetical question for me,
Okay,
but I would think that yes, I mean there are times like for example when I was working on this presentation,
right.
there are times when you are either you've stumbled, you've reached a roadblock, or you're overwhelmed with ideas, you have too much in your mind and
Hmm.
you do not know how to condense it. I would suggest, of course, sharing your ideas with somebody you trust.
Hmm.
Another, in this case, could be another designer whose work is similar to yours, and kind of uh, brainstorm it out, or step back, take a break, go back, read the design brief, reread the design brief, and kind of start with with a new approach, like start afresh, tear off the pages of the previous uh, work that you were doing, look at everything afresh, look at it again and start again. uh, or just take a break, go watch a movie, chill out, step back from your drawing board for a couple of hours, couple of days, and come back refreshed.
Right. So I would like to add a couple of points here. Okay, being a designer and a design educator, I have some interesting thoughts on this. Okay, I'm not sure, Meraki, whether you are getting into a design school or you're already in a design school or a designer. I do not know that. Okay, but what I would like to tell you is, if you are hitting an art block or a design block, you have to congratulate yourself, because what is going to happen next is going to change your thought process and change you as a person, as a designer. Okay, because generally these design blocks or the art blocks, the mental blocks happen when you have thoroughly explored all the possibilities. Okay, and you have nowhere else to go, and you're not satisfied with the solutions you already have, right? So that's a great position that you are in if you reach that point. Okay, and how do you come out of that? Now, if you are in a design school, okay, so you're taught about various design methodologies. Now you use these design methodologies to come out of these various blocks. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples, but um, but let me also tell you that these design methodologies are not predefined ones, and you can create your own design methodologies to come out of your mental blocks. Okay, I'd like to cite one small example. When I was studying in IIT, I was doing my Masters of Design in IIT. All right. So till that point, as an architect, I'm an architect and an industrial designer. So as an architect, what we do is to give ideas for the clients. Okay. In the design school, if you have to generate ideas for our professors for the projects, we generally do three design ideas, three concepts. That is a general methodology. Okay. Even if you get a client, you make three ideas, three different concepts. So basically, one is exactly like what they want. Okay. Second is exactly what they would not want. Third is what you want. Okay. So so the idea is, you basically are showing that, okay, if I design something like what you want, it's not going to look like great. Okay. The second option is, okay, you definitely would not want to look at the bad design. And the only option that is left is what I have designed, what I want to do, and you will definitely like that. So that is a basic concept behind why three designs. And I'm sure all the design professionals follow the same process, especially if they're doing architecture. But when I have gone to IIT Delhi for doing my masters, I got a shock because my first project was to design a kettle. All right, so that is one of the semester end projects. So I have to design a kettle, and I designed like three different ideas. One is what my professor wanted. Second is what my professor did not want, and third is what I wanted. So I showcased these three, and he said, "Okay, I don't like any of these three. By next week review, you please generate 200 different ideas and come." And I was like, okay, he was joking. Because how can you generate 200 different ideas? It's just not possible. Because my mind is saying, Arey, this is not just possible. He must be just joking. So I made another three designs and went next day for the review. So he again looked at them and he said, no way, nothing less than 200. Okay, so the professor has really pushed me, and I took it as a challenge. I worked for one whole week, day and night. After doing 10 designs, I was exhausted. I don't know what to do. All right. Then I started to figure out different ways of generating different forms. So I use different tools for generating different forms. Okay. Like for example, I used initially the concepts were using pencil, then I used a paint brush, then I used a knife, then I used a different method, and then I changed the tool. So instead of doing physically, I used a computer tool. That time I used SolidWorks, right? So by changing the tool, you can come out with different kinds of interesting forms. Okay. So by taking inspiration from nature, you can come up with different kinds of forms. And that was the first time in my life I have generated 200 plus concepts, and I could not believe myself. And when I look at those concepts, my first three concepts were nowhere near to the other ones that I have generated. All right. So, so what the first thing is, if you have come to a point where you are feeling that you are unable to generate more ideas, it's a great point to be, because you are gonna do something revolutionary after that. And second is, there are many design methods to use to come out of this mental block. People generally think to get a lot of ideas, we have to sit under a bodhi tree and meditate. That is not how designers work. Designers would not work like that. Okay, designers take inspiration. They take inspiration from nature, from other works, and etc., and they generate all these ideas. Okay, so when you are in a design school, you will be taught to how to come out of this kind of a creative blocks. So you don't have to worry now. Okay, but be happy that you have hit a block, and what is going to happen next will be a history. Okay.
Wow, that's very encouraging, Umesh.
Right. I mean, that's what I really feel. And in fact, in the design exploration program that we organize, we encourage the students to come up with at least 30 different ideas for each of the 15 projects. And we also give them, of course, we also give them methodologies, tips, and etc. And they do really do such kind of stuff, and they amaze themselves. You know. So, okay. So there are a lot of questions that are coming in. So Mr. Prem is asking, what is strategic design management? I think it's little way off to the topic. We are currently focusing on the communication, and in
Yeah.
fact, or one of the topics or one of the e-meets, I would like to bring in a strategic design uh, management guy or strategic designer, so that he can give you in more inputs, Mr. Prem. Okay, I would want you to save that question for that
Sure.
e-meet. Yeah. So next, claim C again. I strongly believe that many designers today are not able to understand culture, social science, behavior, economics, and perhaps. Okay, thank you. To penetrate. Okay. Penetrate reptilian and limbic brain.
I don't understand. He's on a different trip. Looks like.
Yeah, he's in a different group. Okay, so let us focus on the questions related to the communication of design. All right. Okay. So,
But what he talks about, that designer must be acquainted with psychology, know culture, and know what people do, why they do. Those are topics that are addressed in design school.
design school, yeah.
There is, yeah, so there is a lot of exposure to culture, to the roots of art, at least at CEPT. I know at the Faculty of Design, we have been introduced to, we've been taken to the actual like textile weavers. We've actually gone to the weaver workshops and worked with them hands on to understand not only why they do it, how they do it, the circumstances in which they live. So a lot of leading design schools do have that psychology of design, psychology of human beings as part of their subjects.
Yes, and I believe all design schools these days are focusing on that and also encouraging students
Yes,
to be
to
receptive to these
absolutely,
topics.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. All right, great. So Kriti is asking, can you explain this through an actual design work, the 200 design thing? So, Kriti, there are a lot of examples. In fact, we do that with the design exploration students in DQ labs. I can showcase that. We, in fact, document them very nicely. Okay, I can showcase that, but I need to basically get into DQ Edge and showcase that. But meanwhile, let me ask Nitasha. Nitasha, any final suggestions or any inputs that you would like to give as a summary, which you have given 10 different points. So I would suggest if you can focus on one top most point a student or an aspirant will have to always remember in terms of communication, what would that be?
I think for me, the most important communication tip is be prepared. Whether
Hmm.
so preparation is key, practice, rehearse is key, because that kind of encompasses, the more you practice, the more you rehearse, the more you're able to eliminate the other 10 or 9 tips that I talked about: excess of detail, not understanding your audience very well, not using the right, like keep using designer language, all the other points that I touched upon. So the more you rehearse, the more you practice, the more you're prepared, the more you know about your subject, the better you are able to market yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And recalling from the tips what Natasha has suggested, you can stand in front of the mirror. You can also record your voice. First, practice that, become comfortable. Then you can stand in front of your own family members and give that presentation so that you are even more comfortable talking to people. So be prepared. I think that is a um, very good suggestion. Now, interestingly, in this online interaction of NID, what happens is they sometimes give an impromptu kind of a situation and they'll ask to talk. Like they may show up object and they'll tell, okay, talk about the object or talk about the feelings of the object. So in that case, how can one be prepared?
Um, so they would ask you, okay, so this is like just a minute where you get a topic and you're asked to speak. We do that a lot
Right.
at Toastmasters. So
Right.
idea is to remember that whenever you speak, have an introduction, have a body, and have an end. Try and start with something which will hook the audience from the word go. Where,
Hmm.
so, of course, first in your mind, just repeat the question. Take a minute or two to repeat the question in your mind while you're buying time to work on your speech. Start with something which will hook the audience right on. Give because it's obviously only a 1 minute speech that they're looking at, one or two sentences to describe the characteristic of the object can be something very simple. And the your last, I would say that your last point of your speech should try and tie it up to the hook, the beginning of your sentence, to convey that you've actually thought about the whole subject as a whole, like you've given it a holistic approach.
Right, right. Cool. Okay, cool. So I would like to share my screen for a couple of minutes. I'd like to show the different ideas, what the students have come up with. So we have a program called as Design Exploration Program, which is meant for basically from 8th grade till 12th grade graders who are artistic and who wants to explore the profession of design and understand various design disciplines. All right. So we kind of have 15 different projects, and we help them understand what a designer does. We give them inputs and methods of coming up with these 30 different ideas. All right. So I would like to showcase one of the works done by a student. She has never done anything like this before. Okay, so this was about the apparel design or the fashion design. So you can see that we encourage them to do at least 30 different ideas, and she has done it, and she has done it in such a beautiful way. She has never done something like this before. I'm just telling you guys. All right. So you can see here the ideas. So she has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas inspired from Earth as taking inspiration, and another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas taking music as an inspiration. And can you see the elements of music being used in her ideation designs, right? Okay. For example, taking inspiration from nature, see how beautifully this has come up. Okay. So 6 different themes, and they come up with at least 5 different ideas per theme. And there you go, you have 30 different ideas. And similarly, you can create unlimited number of ideas for any topic. And this is one of the methodology, like taking inspiration from different objects and themes and etc. Right. So let me just showcase another one. And by the way, we have this free online sketching program happening because of this lockdown during the pandemic times. We wanted to encourage students, engage the students in some creative activity. So we have this free design sketching, that is program, that is still running. If you're interested, you can register. We'll share the link in the chat window. It's a 3-day program where we will teach you how to draw interior, exterior objects in perspective. And it's a 3 hour per day, 45 minutes. So approximately 3 hour program, but you will amaze yourself. You will think, oh, wow, I can draw so very nicely. Um, Anyway, so this is another exercise where she was supposed to come up with a brand name and also create different logos for that brand name. So she has come up with 30 different ideas for the logos, right? So yeah, and many a times the student would have gone through a mental block, and as we teach different methodologies for them to overcome those mental blocks, they can easily come up with the flow of ideas. Okay, so I hope this gives a preview of what you are asking, Kriti. Yes. All right. Okay, so we are 1 minute away uh, of our e-meet time. All right. So let me just look for any other final questions. Um, okay, so I think pretty much we are at the end of the session. Let me just type in the bit.ly link. All right, so I'm sorry, that's not the right one. Bit.ly learn. All right, so that is the link. If you want to enroll into this free design sketching program, please do so. Okay, and Nitasha, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming over here and giving the valuable tips and suggestions for the aspiring designers. And
Thank you so much, Umesh and Dion, for this opportunity. It was very interesting and encouraging for me too.
right, and we definitely look for some kind of a relationship, and we would definitely want you to be present and accessible for our students so that they can
Absolutely.
interact with you and gain more knowledge and improve their
Absolutely.
communication skills.
Absolutely.
All
Anytime.
right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you all for participating in this. Next week, remember, it is Raghavendra Rathore who is coming, a famous fashion designer. And please do not miss out. We are going to do some announcements where the DQ Lab students get an opportunity to interact with the personalities themselves. They can also coordinate, they can host the designers, and they can also be one of the panel members, and that would give you a great opportunity to interact with them and build a connect and build your network. Okay, so thank you all. So today being a happy Father's Day,
Yes.
congratulations and best wishes to for all the fathers over there.
To
And
you too.
right, and we'll meet you next week at 4 o'clock. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.